Hello, I'm Bryce Stein, and this is my video recording assignment. Okay, so we'll start on problem 1. Solve for x and discuss your process. So I have number 1, let me turn it sideways. I have number 1 right here. So the problem I have written up above, 3 over x minus 3 plus 5 over x minus 4 equals x squared minus 12 over x squared minus 7x plus 12. So immediately I times x minus 3 by x minus 4 to get the least common denominator. And ironically, I found out that it was actually the x squared minus 7x plus 12. So as you can see right here, this is where I did the x minus 3, x minus 4. Since the 3 already had x minus 3, I just did x minus 4 on both sides. So I have 3x minus 12. That's the 3 times the negative 4. I did the same on the other side over here, 5x minus 15. This side already had the x minus 4, so I did 5 times x, which is 5x, minus 5 times 3. Or 5 minus 5 times negative 3, which is negative 15. Down here, this is where I added them together. 8x minus 27x equals x squared minus 12. This right here is also me adding the top two together. So this right here, I kind of just, at this point, I can cancel out the denominators because they all share the same. This is x minus 3, x minus 4. This is x minus 3 and then x minus 4 as well down here. And then this is x minus 3 and x minus 4 times. So I just unfactored that, and there we go. So now we have 8x minus 27 equals x squared minus 12. I got it all on the same side, so I got x squared minus 8x equals, or not equals, minus 8x plus 15 equals 0, but I didn't write the 0 there. So from here on out, I went to factor it. I found out that 3 times 5 equals 15, and negative 3 times negative 5 equals positive 15, and then you add negative 3 and negative 5 together and you get negative 8. So I factored x on this side. I took x out of x squared and x out of 3, got x, and then x minus 3. Did the same over here. I took negative 5 out of negative 5x because you want the x to be positive. So 15 divided by 5 is 3, but since I took negative out, that turns this into a negative, so I get negative 5x minus 3. So I come up with x minus 5 and then x plus 3. So, well, these are x minus 5 equals 0, x plus 3 equals 0, plus 5 to the one side, minus 3 to the one side, x equals positive 5, x equals negative 3. And then here I go to check it out. I take it to the original problem that we have right here. So 8 times 5 minus 27 equals 25 minus 12. This is the 5 squared. I just squared it ahead of time. So I came up with 8 times 5 minus 27 equals 13. 25 minus 12 equals 13. 13 equals 13. Check mark. That checks out. Okay. Now we'll check the negative 3. So I do 8 minus negative 3 minus 27. And 8 minus negative 3 is negative 24. And then negative 24 minus 27, I came up with negative 51. So negative 3 squared is actually going to be a positive 9, and then I minus it by 12. I think I actually put an extra 1 in there. That's just a regular 12, and you get a negative 3. Negative 51 does not come anywhere close to negative 3, so that does not check out. X equals 5 is the correct answer. Alright, let's move on to number 2A. I copy the problem right here. We got 5 at an absolute value of 2x minus 1 plus 6 is less than or equal to 1. So first off, the absolute value, I had to switch it to two equations here. So I did the positive, well first I did positive 5 and negative 5 and I already times it. So positive 5 times 2x minus 1 equals 10x minus 5 plus 6. So it's all drops down from the original equation. Then we have a negative 5, so then I did negative 5 times 2x, which is equals to 10x, and then a negative times a positive is a positive 5 right here. And then negative 5, and then negative 1. So over here, I kind of push the problems over. So this line right here is equal to this line right here. So we got a 10x plus minus 5 plus 6 is less than or equal to 1. So this comes down to 10x plus 1 is less than or equal to 1. So I minus the 1 from this side and I brought it over this side, and then I came up with 10x is less than or equal to 0, which if you divide 10 by 0, you get x is less than or equal to 0, but you can't do that. You can't divide 0 by 10. So I came up with undefined for that one, and then for the negative 10x plus 5 minus 6 is greater than or equal to negative 1. So we come up with negative 1 here, adding the positive 5 and negative 6 together. So we have negative 10x minus 1 is greater than or equal to negative 1. We take the negative 1 here, we add a 1 here, and add a 1 here, and we come up with the same scenario where negative 10x is greater than or equal to 0, which if we can change that to positive, we just get 10x is greater than or equal to 0. And you can't divide the 0 by the 10, so I came up with undefined for the first question. Moving on to the second one, we have an absolute value of 7x is greater than 28. So I broke this down into the two problems of 7x is less than negative 28, and I switched the sign here because it's a negative, and then a 7x is greater than 28. So we'll work with the first one. 7x is less than negative 28. So I actually divided the 7 on the side and took it over here. So we have x is less than negative 4. And then over here, we did relatively the same thing. We have 7x is greater than 28. So we took the 7 from the side, divided it from the side, and x is greater than 4. So then, in the order pairs, so x is less than negative 4. So since this is a negative, less means it's farther away from the 0. So it actually means it's going higher. So this could be anywhere from negative 4.00001 to negative 1000 or negative infinity. So I have negative infinity, negative 4. And then this is x is greater than 4. So then we have the u here, and then we have 4 and infinity. And actually I just realized that this is not greater than or equal to negative 4 or 4. So actually I should have 4.01 or 4.1 since x is not 4. Let's move on to letter C. X plus 3 at the absolute value is less than 8. So again, I had to break this down into two equations. We'll work with the first one. So x plus 3 is less than 8. This is the positive side. So I just minus 3 from this side, minus 3 from this side. X is less than 5. We put a 5 here in our first equation. So now, since I did this as a negative, I flipped the sign. X plus 3 is greater than negative 8. Kind of did the same thing here. We have this positive 3 here. If I want to remove it from this side, I have to add it to this side. So I'm minus 3 here. Do the same thing over here, minus 3. We get x is greater than negative 11. And since this is actually equal to, because to be greater than negative 11, remember this, since this is a negative, this doesn't mean negative 12. This could actually be anywhere from negative 10 or negative 10.925. So since these are actually in between each other, because less than positive 5 means you want to go closer to 0, and then greater than negative 11 means you want to go closer to 0. This could be anywhere from 5 to negative 11. And then moving on to the last letter, D. I wrote out the original problem here, negative 2 to the absolute value of 3x plus 5 plus 7 is greater than or equal to negative 13. So here we can see, we can see our two columns here. So this first column here is the positive end of it. So negative 2, or actually no, this is the negative end of it. The positive, so this is 2 times 3x plus 5. And then we have a plus 7 is greater than or equal to negative 13. So 2 times 3x, because you always do this first since it's in parentheses, 2 times 3x, I got to 6x right here. 2 times 5 is 10 right there. Then we have a plus 7 is greater than or equal to negative 13. So add that together, 6x plus 17 is greater than or equal to negative 13. Well, we want to get rid of this 17 here, so we move it over to the other side. So now we come out with 6x is greater than or equal to negative 30. And this becomes a negative 30 because we minus the 17 here. So negative 17 adding on to negative 13 is negative 30. We divide it by 6 and we get x is greater than or equal to negative 5. And the reason I didn't change the sign here is because we are dividing by an even number, not an odd. Then over here we have the negative factor of it. So we always start with the parentheses first. Negative 2 times 3x plus 5. We get to negative 6x because 2 times 3 is 6. The x to negative 10. 2 times 5 is 10. Then we have the 7 that dropped down from before. The negative 13 that dropped down from before. And then we have negative 6x minus 3, because we added the negative 10 to the positive 7. So we have negative 3 is greater than or equal to negative 13. So we want to get rid of that 3, correct? So then we add 3 on both sides and we get negative 6 is greater than or equal to negative 10. So lastly, we're right here. Negative 6 is greater than or equal to negative 10. So I don't want a negative x, but I can, if I do one thing to this side, I can do it to this side. So I can time this side by negative 1, but I'll have to do it to this side. So basically they both become positive. 6x is less than or equal to 10, but since I times it both by negative 1 on each side, I have to flip the sign. So now we have x is less than or equal to, so yeah, after flipping the sign, I want to get rid of this 6 now, so I divide both sides by 6. I have x is less than or equal to 10 over 6, which if you break it down, is x is less than or equal to 1 2/3. Now, since x is less than or equal to 1 2/3 and x is greater than or equal to negative 5, remember since negative 5 is a negative 5, greater than is closer to 0, so we want to be like, and then we want to be negative 4 or lower. Or higher, I mean. So since it's in between those two numbers, we actually don't need the u. X can be anywhere from negative 5 to 1 2/3. As in, since it's less than 1 2/3, if we drew out a line here, it'd be going this way, and it's greater than negative 5. So greater than means it's closer to 0. You'd be going this way. Thank you. I had a little trouble with the video assignment as it's the first one I'm doing, so I'm hoping to learn from this and find out what everything you would like, and then I'm hoping that you could help me out with anywhere that I went wrong. Thank you so much, Professor.